The Acolyte is worse than a skit made by teenagers. They should have called it the Wackalite. Now hit the like button, ladies and gents, because this is from the producer, who literally fed women to the real life Jabba the Hutt in Harvey Weinstein. She was essentially his. Now look, I'd like to think that we've hit rock bottom and that this is as bad as Star Wars will ever get. But God knows that Kathleen Kennedy and her fellow dented fairy-headed morons will find a way to top themselves. After this episode, I had to literally go to the toilet. It was that bad. Now, this episode had me asking, so does anybody miss Jar Jar Binks now? And speaking of Jar Jar, George Lucas, when he sold Star Wars, he said, and I quote, "I'm leaving Star Wars in the hands of professionals." Really, George? Is that what you really did, Georgie boy? Because if there's any way we can go to the world between worlds and pull George out of that room with Bob Iger and prevent Star Wars from ever going to those freaks. Now, Disney needs to decide if they're an entertainment company or a political action group. Because DEI stands for Disney Ended Itself. Now, it's been a while since I made fun of Disney because, quite frankly, I just don't give a single about anything they make. And because apathy is a fate worse than death, I just leave Star Wars to their target audience. The alphabet-obsessed people and the woke weirdos. The real Star Wars died a long time ago. But having said all of that, I do think it's funny how they are simultaneously digging their grave deeper and deeper. Or maybe they're just trolling the real Star Wars fans at this point. Either way, it's funny to make fun of. This episode was worse than the episode of Mando with Lizzo. I mean, I would call this truly fatherless behavior, because the Acolyte episode 3 was completely ridiculous and trash Star Wars canon on a grand scale. Leslie Headland, the person making this, getting $180 million to do whatever she wants to the Star Wars corpse is what I would call real oppression. I was watching this episode and asking, how could this look the way it does on a budget only 10 million less than Dune 2? Anyway, look, to make a long story long, this episode basically ruins the original films by claiming Anakin wasn't really the chosen one because the Force can be wherever you want it to be. And you can have two women just conjure up twins without the need of men. Look, if the Force is knocking up women, then wouldn't it mean the Force is male? But then again, none of this stuff makes sense. And ironically, they scissored so hard it created enough Force to destroy Star Wars entirely. You know, that should have been the tagline for the show. Scissor me with all your strength and we can create many Anakins together. We are the Sith Scissor Sisters. What the f am I even talking about? See, this show is driving me nuts because according to these people, learning how to use the Force is easier than turning on a light bulb. See, the thing is, the Force was explained in the very first film. It's an energy field created by all living things. It surrounds us and binds the galaxy together. That's it. It really requires no further elaboration whatsoever. The bottom line is this: Disney does not belong in the Star Wars space. The blatant arrogance and disrespect from these cretins is comical. This is a question for everybody in the comments. Let me know. Do you think Disney regrets the entire franchise up? I wonder what it's going to take for Disney and Lucasfilm to finally learn that insulting the fans' intelligence is not a viable marketing strategy. But if it involves bankruptcy, then maybe we'll all be for it. I mean, if the franchise is so toxic, why did you buy it in the first place? If you literally have a show where the director says it's going to make 50% of the population uncomfortable, why would you even make it in the first place? You clearly don't even want to make money or make a good show. The only way you made men uncomfortable is by making a cringy dumpster juice that feels nothing but awkwardness and patheticness. I mean, if the goal was to make every man on the planet recoil back and say, oh my god, I'm never paying for Disney Plus again, then yeah, you succeeded. Part of me thinks that's not what you were aiming for, but then again, who the f knows what you're aiming for at this point? And on that bombshell, Mannix out.